So if we divide both sides by 16, we end up with t squared equals 44 divided by 16 is 9. Okay, so we square root both sides. We end up with t equals plus or minus square root of 9, which is 3. So t equals 3. T equals negative 3. So we know it can't be negative because he's not diving for negative 3 seconds. So we can cross that one out. So t equals 3 is your answer. Oh, thank you. Okay, so t equals 3. We know the diver hits the water after 3 seconds. Uh-oh. All right, so any questions on that one? Move that up a little more. All right. Okay. All right, so let's say, for example, here, say the square of a number plus 3 times a number is 70. So we want to find the number. Okay, so with this one, I usually draw like a little diagram. So we know we're going to be adding. That's automatic. Let's say if we let x equals a number they're talking about. Okay, so since we know we're adding, we're going to be adding something and something, and it's going to equal 70. Just from what they told us. Okay, so we have the square of a number. We'll just write square of a number. And here we'll write 3 times a number. Is 70. Yes.
Is the number like the same number, or can it be, is it 2 different?
Nope, same number.
Okay, because a number, it doesn't say that they have to be the same number.
True, but we kind of assume it. All right, so that gives us the square of a number. That's just x squared. Plus 3 times a number. That's 3 times whatever our number is. Equals 70. Okay, so that gives us, if we subtract 70 from both sides, but we'll x squared plus 3x equals 70, which becomes x squared plus 3x, subtract 70 from both sides, minus 70 equals 0. Alright, so here we can just solve it by finding two numbers that multiply to equal -70, and those same two numbers add to equal our b, which is 3. So for this one, looks like 10 and -7 should work. 10 times -7 is -70. 10 plus -7 is +3. Okay, so this just becomes x plus 10 times x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so we just set them both to 0, and x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, we subtract 10 from both sides. X equals -10. Add 7 to both sides here. X equals 7. All right. So any questions on that one? All right. Okay, so let's say if we have say the height of a triangular sail is 2 meters less than twice the length of the base. Okay, so if the area, if the sail has an area of 30 meters, well, 30 square meters, clean that up a little bit. Find the length of its base and height. Alright, so this is where it helps to kind of draw a picture. You know you have a triangular sail. Okay, so let's say we have a sail. Say that's pretty triangular. Okay, so its height, where we know this is our height, or we can put it outside if we want to. Okay, the height is 2 meters less than twice the length of the base. So if this is our base, we can make that equal x. Okay, so that means if our height is 2 meters less than twice the length of the base, 2 meters less than twice the length of the base. Twice the length of the base is 2x. 2 meters less than that will be 2x minus 2. Okay, so that means our height is 2x minus 2. Okay, and we know the area, which is just the amount of space in here, 30 square meters. Okay, so all we have to do is just find the right formula and find the length of the base. Okay, so you want to remember that the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. Or you can just make that area equals 1/2 instead of base. You know our base is x, and our height is 2x minus 2. So actually, since we already know the area is 30, we can replace that. Might as well move that arrow over a little bit out the way. There we go. Okay. So now all we want to do is just kind of bring everything over to one side. So if you want, you can distribute the actual 1/2 x, which would work, or you can multiply both sides by 2 and then distribute the x. Either way would work. So if we multiply both sides by 2, it gets rid of that 1/2. So that makes 2 times 30 equals 2 times 1/2 times x times 2x minus 2. So those two would cancel out. And we'd end up with 60 equals, and we can go ahead and distribute that while we're at it. X times 2x is 2x squared minus 2x. Okay. So if we subtract 60 from both sides, we end up with 2x squared minus 2x minus 60 equals 0. So bring that up just a bit. Okay. So now this is where we solve. But before we solve, we can factor a 2 out of all of those terms. Okay, so we have, move that arrow down just a bit. So that gives us 2 times x squared minus x minus 30 equals 0. So if we divide both sides by 2, this side divided by 2, this side divided by 2, those two would cancel out. And that will leave us with x squared minus x minus 30. 0 divided by anything is just going to be 0. All right. So now we just solve for our x. So two numbers multiply to equal our c, which is negative 30. I'll kind of separate that a little bit. And those same two numbers add to equal our b, which is negative 1. Okay, so we can't use 10 and 3, so 5 and 6 would work. So we're looking at negative 6, positive 5. That should work. So we have negative 6 and positive 5 is negative 30. Negative 6 plus positive 5 is negative 1. So that worked. Okay. So now all we have to do is rewrite this one. So that gives us x minus 6 times x plus 5 equals 0. So if we solve each one of those for 0, since we're running out of room, we know x will equal 6, or x will equal negative 5. Okay. Well, we can't have a length of negative 5, so we can get rid of that one. Well, base can't equal negative 5. Make sure it's up enough. Base cannot be negative. Okay. So we have our base, which is x equals 6. But to find our height, we just have to plug in the x and solve for our height. Okay, so this is our base. And I'll separate a little bit of room for our height, which is 2x minus 2, which becomes 2 times 6 minus 2, which is 12 minus 2, which is 10. So this is your height. Or you can say 10 meters. And clean up that now. Alright, so any questions on that one? Alright. Let's see. Alright, oh, anyone's still writing. Okay. So let's say for our next example. Let's say if we want to find the length of the sides of a right triangle, if the lengths can be expressed as 3 consecutive even integers. Alright, so with this one, before you start, you just want to remember, say if you have 3 even integers, let's say if you have 8, 10, and 12, or whatever even integer you start with. This is your x, wherever you start. To move to the next one, you go up 2, and move to the next one, you go up 2 more. So 3 consecutive even integers is x, x plus 2, and x plus 4. Because where you're starting, you have to move 2 to get to the next even one. And then you have to move 4 to get to the even one after that. If you want to get to the next one, you have to move 6, then plus 8, then plus 10, and it goes like that. Even integers. And it's the same formula for if you had 3 consecutive odd integers. You're still jumping by 2's. Excuse me. Okay, so we know if we have a right triangle, draw a quick picture here. And we have our three consecutive integers. We know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so that means if they're all three consecutive integers, it could be x plus 2, and x plus 4 squared. Okay, so since it's a right triangle, we have our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this gives us x squared plus x plus 2 squared equals x plus 4 squared. Okay, so now we use this and we solve for x. Alright, so if we start down here, we have x squared plus x plus 2 squared is just x plus 2 times x plus 2 equals x plus 4 squared, x plus 4 times x plus 4. Okay, so we might as well go ahead and FOIL these two. Alright, so that would give us x squared plus, you have x squared, your outer is 2x, your inner is 2x, so that's 4x. And your last is 4. Equals, your first is x squared, your outer is 4x, your inner is 4x, so together that's 8x, plus your last, which is 16. Okay. So normally my first step would be to combine these two, but if we subtract x squared from both sides, we don't have to worry about combining them because one of them actually just disappears. Okay, so you have x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 8x plus 16. Oops, slide this up a little bit. Okay, so now we just want to bring everything to one side so we can solve it. So if you subtract 8x from both sides, that disappears. So we have x squared, 4x minus 8x is minus 4x. If you subtract 16 from both sides, that disappears. So 4 minus 16 is minus 12 equals 0. Okay. So since we have nothing in front of the x squared, find two numbers that multiply to equal our c, which is negative 12. And those same two numbers add to equal your b, which is negative 4. Okay. So for this one, it looks like negative 6 and positive 2 should work. Okay, so we have negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. And negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. Alright, so that gives us, I'll move it to the right since we're running out of room on the side, x minus 6 times x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so that means if we separate those and solve for x, that means x equals 6 or x equals negative 2. Okay, I'm going to just redraw the triangle that we're actually working on. So you have x squared, x plus 2 squared. Well, can't even say squared because we're not squaring it yet. Oop, clean that up some. Uh-oh. So you have x plus 2, and x plus 4. Okay, so we know x is equal to 6. It can't be equal to negative 2 because it can't have a negative length. Okay, so we know that x is equal to 6. Might as well put x equals 6. Okay, so now we just have to solve for our x plus 2 and our x plus 4. So x plus 2, that's 6 plus 2, which is 8. And x plus 4 just becomes 6 plus 4, which is 10. So the legs are 6 and 8, and your hypotenuse is 10. All right. So any questions on that one? All right. Okay. And for this example, let's say you have the length of a rectangular driveway is 4 feet less than 5 times the width. Okay, so we know the area, bless you, is 672 square feet. You want to find the width and the length of the driveway. Nope, that's getting ready to cut off in about a minute.